Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this episode, we're going to be replacing the up pipe on my Subaru Forester. But before we get into how to remove it and what we're going to need, let me show you what I've got. So what I bought, and I'm very excited about this, is an Catless up pipe from Fuji Racing. The Fuji Racing downpipe gasket, which is at 1.5mm instead of 1.2 as it comes from factory. The up pipe gasket to the turbo, the up pipe to headers gasket as well from Fuji Racing. Unfortunately, they didn't have in stock the Fuji Racing headers exhaust gasket, so I went with this gold fiber headers exhaust gasket. Apparently it's very good. It's OEM, I bought it from ICP. And then I've got 6 coated, heated, treated, whatever you want to fucking call them, nuts, just in case we break any of them. We can get them replaced and we don't have to wait around. If you live in a country like I do, where things get rusty quite quickly, and as well you have to remember that this car at this point is 20, almost 21 years old, so things are going to be corroded and they're going to be all crusty. So the most important thing here is going to be to lubricate the shit out of every single bolt that we're going to do. So what we're going to do today is, you're not going to see it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend most of the day lubricating every single bolt that I can. First thing we're going to have to remove is the heat shield on top of the turbo, and this is going to be a bit tricky right from the start because this car is 20 years old right now, so it's not going to be all nice and fresh. So we're going to have 6 bolts to remove. After letting the bolt from the heat shield soak for a few hours, started getting them out. These little bastards, one of them, the one where the downpipe is, was the hardest one because I didn't have a proper tool to get out. I didn't have a proper spanner. It was a 10mm. I used this. As you can see, it's not bent enough. So yeah, that was a bit hard to do. And we managed to get out 5 out of 7. I did say yesterday 6, there's 7, there's 2 under the intercooler. So I'm going to try to get the heat shield out now. I know you can do it without taking the intercooler out, so that's what we're going to do. And once I get it out, I'll show you how I did it. So let's get on with it. I've been trying to get off for now at around 10 minutes, and it's quite hard to actually get out. I don't know if some people might be able to do it. This is the first time I'm doing it, so what I'm going to do is get the intercooler out, and then we're going to have better access to actually all the bolts that we need. But before that, what we're going to do is get the car on the ramps, so that way we can get to the bolts underneath. Later on, when we're removing the up pipe, and we're removing probably the headers as well, so we got better space to remove the up pipe. I'm going to be doing a oil cooler seals as well on this one, which is going to be another video, but since I'm doing that and it's right there, I'm going to be recording 2 videos but doing it at the same time, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to quit rambling and I'm going to get the car on the ramps. We're going to proceed to get the intercooler out, and if I'm not mistaken, we only need to get that one out, this one and this one, the coupler that goes to the throttle body, the valve here which has one here, one down there, I don't know if you can see it, and the other one right here at the top, and we should be able to remove that without a problem. I forgot one more, that one right there. As you can see, the bolts are out. That is nice and loose. The 2 nuts that held this in place are out. I removed that one as well, and I removed the bracket that actually holds the intercooler there. So all we're gonna have to do is sort of swivel it this way, push it up, and it should come out. As you can see, we're gonna have to replace that at some point because that pipe have seen better days. Now that the intercooler is out, we're going to be able to remove our heat shield a lot easier. What I'm going to do before the end of the day is holes like the one on the turbo, the one on the throttle body, and the one of these blow-off valve. What I'm going to do is put some tape on them so nothing gets in it, hopefully. Let's get this off and continue with the project. All the people that I see on YouTube taking the heat shield off, they said there was 7 bolts, so that's the reason why I couldn't get my heat shield off. So I'm gonna get that out and we're gonna be able to get the heat shield off. There we go. You see? One there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a new morning. I've been lubricating the shit out of the bolts last night. I'm going to do it again this morning. I managed to get out the heat shield for the exhaust manifold on the left hand side if you're facing the car. With this sockets, turbo sockets, extractor sockets, whatever you want to call them, because they were rusty. So I might buy new bolts for that. And I'm going to show you what I did to actually remove it. I didn't have with me the O2 sensor socket, so what I did is I just cut it right here, and what I'm going to do is chop this bit here so I can slide it in and out next time if I need to remove it. First thing we're going to do is remove the bolts that come from the downpipe to the turbo. So we go a bolt on this side, nut on this side, bolt on this side, nut on this side. They are 14 mil, and then we're going to have a nut down here, a nut down here, and another one below that one. All of them are 14, so just take your time. Try to put some linear force on it. So what I mean with that is that when you put your ratchet, in this case on this side, let me show you, when you put it on this side, let's say like that, I already loosened this one's up a bit. So when I put it here, don't do this with your ratchet or with your breaker bar or like pulling towards it. Try to keep it straight and maintain the force the same way. I know it's easy to say, but sometimes that extra second can save you from breaking one of those bolts. That being said, now let's try to get the other ones out and see how easy they come. For this nut right here, I had to use a 3/8 with a bit of an extension here, just because we got the steering column right there, so there's not much space. But yeah, just take your time and you should be okay. For that one right there, I had to actually use a 14 mil spanner because the space here is even smaller. So in theory we should have just one more right at the bottom and we should be good to go. To get to our last nut that you can see right at the bottom, what we're going to do first is remove this bracket here. So remove these 2 bolts there. So then we can get our spanner right there, as I don't have anything else that I can actually put on there, just because of the axis that we've got. If you look at it, there's not much, as the steering column is right there. The bracket that attaches the downpipe against the gearbox on my own was a bit corroded, so I started trying to take the bolt out and it broke, so it doesn't really matter anyway. As you can see down there, I disconnect the downpipe from the cat back, and now we're going to be able to remove the downpipe out and then get to the bolts at the back of the turbo. Now that the downpipe is out, we're going to be able to see the other 2 nuts that hold the outpipe against the turbo right there, one next to each other. So let's lubricate them, give it a minute, and then try to get them out. While we let the turbo bolts soak in, what I'm going to show you is basically the other ones that we need to remove. So we got 2 bolts and nuts here, which connects the exhaust manifold to the other exhaust manifold, right? So we're gonna have to remove them 2, and then we're gonna have to remove that one there, which is for the up pipe, and the other one, I don't know if you can see it right there next to the O2 sensor. That's the other one that we need to disconnect, and that would be all the bolts for the up pipe. So it would be 1, 2 down here and 5 at the top. And then the exhaust manifold has 1 there and 1 there, so you can see it right there, and the other one is right there at the top. So we're gonna have to remove all of those, and then we're gonna have to remove the other one just to put the new gasket in. Since I got 2, I'm gonna try to do all of them, but we'll see first how hard this one is to get out. That one now is loose, that one is loose, that one is loose, and the one right at the top, as you can see, is not there anymore because it's here, and I had to, it was stuck, I couldn't really get it out, so I had to use those structure sockets and hammer the shit out of it. So yeah, the nut is out, the bolt is out, the bolt is alright. We're gonna replace the nut. As I said before, we got 6 and so far, and hopefully this is the only one that we have to smash like this. And now we got the important bit, which we're gonna have to be very careful here to get the nuts that then mount the exhaust manifold to the block out. So I'm gonna take my time on them and hopefully will come out quite easily. Alright, so we managed to get those 2 nuts out and this one here, so this is almost ready to come out. All the bolts on this one are out. I left that one there just to hold it in place and just to show you. And what we have to do now, if you haven't done it before, is going up there, disconnect your O2 sensor so we don't drag and we don't break the wire. So let me show you what it is. So our O2 sensor is this one here, so we're going to disconnect it. As you can see, it goes all the way down and it goes into that bracket that you can see right there at the bottom. If you focus, that one there, so it has a couple of clips, we can push them down and get the wire out. And then we're gonna have to as well disconnect, let me see if I can find it for you first. We're gonna have to disconnect that black one that you can see right there. This one here is your EGT, so exhaust gas temperature sensor. If you don't have your car tuned, you're gonna have to put a resistor in position, and I'll show you later on once we done everything. So we're gonna disconnect that one there, and we're gonna disconnect that one at the bottom. Now that we got our connector down here, what we're gonna do is remove this last bolt and get the manifold out. In the end, to take the header off, I took the pipe that connects the 2 headers together, as you can see right there and right here, as because of this bit here, the heat shield, it was heating there and I couldn't really get it out, so I just thought remove that. We're going to change the gasket on that one as well, so might as well do it now. As you can see, we got a nice leak, and that is from the oil cooler, and that's another thing that I'm going to be replacing now that I've got all of this out. So first things first, let's get the up pipe out and we go from there. I managed to get all the bolts nice and loose without breaking any of them, so very happy with that. Hopefully we can keep going that way. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to do something that I didn't want it to do, and that is jack up the engine by the sump. It's a bit of a nerve-wracking job to do, to be honest. You can crack the pan or you can bend it and then you're fucked. But unfortunately, I can't do anything else apart from that, since as you can see, I can't get the up pipe out, which is hitting the subframe on the block. Everything has been taped, and I got some kitchen roll in there just because I had to leave the car for 1 or 2 days while I was at work, and I didn't want to leave everything exposed since it's been raining and it's been shitty. So yeah, as I said, what we're gonna do is get a big long piece of wood so we can spread the weight, and we're gonna jack up the engine by the sump little by little. Take your time on doing this, and if you hear any crack or anything, just drop it, don't keep going. We don't need a lot of space, just enough so the pipe can slide out, and then we're going to drop the engine back to its natural position. Another thing you're going to have to do if you're going to jack up the engine is undo your engine mounts. There are 14 nuts right there, so I undone my one, I haven't taken it all the way out, as you can see on both sides. The other one is right there, and I want to see if by just doing that I got the clearance that I need. If not, I will remove the actual nut and go from there. And just like that, just as fucking easy as that, we got it out, you fucking bastard. What I did in the end, it was to bend the actual sensor a bit. I'm not going to be reusing it. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this plug. But yes, she's out, and thank God for that. Fuck me, this was hard work. I mean, I know what to do now for next one, but yes, it was quite tedious of a job. So let me just show you this setup. I don't know if you can see it from there, but at the end what I did is I put a small piece of wood at the bottom and I put a longer one at the top. And what I did in the end is actually remove the nut completely from the engine mount. So one thing I would say is when you dropping the engine back down, do it very slowly so it actually sits on the mounts properly. But yeah, we got it out, and now what we're gonna do is wrap with heat tape the new one, and we're gonna start putting everything back in finally. Here's our new up pipe, and what we're gonna do is with this fabric heat tape we're gonna wrap all of it, and we're gonna make it sit tight with this. To use this you're gonna have to get it wet, so what I'm gonna do is wrap it around roughly to know how much I need. Then I'm gonna chop it, and then I'm gonna submerge it in water, leave it there for a tiny bit, and then we're gonna start wrapping it up. Off camera as well, I took the other side of the exhaust manifold as we hook our new gaskets. So probably what I'm gonna do is clean the top of that, clean the underneath of the engine, and then start mounting them while the tape is getting wet. While that's getting nice and soaked, another thing we're going to do is put the studs on the new up pipe. And what you want to do is put two nuts like this, and you're going to put a spanner here and a spanner here, tie them against each other, so pull different ways. And once that's done, what we're going to do is rotate the top one down until they get nice and seated. You don't have to go crazy on them, but we want them to be tight and not just hand tight. And just like that, we got the up pipe all wrapped up. Maybe I want to be too crazy with the wire, but I think better to be safe than sorry, isn't it? I don't want to get it out again just to wrap it again, so that should be nice and tight. And all we got left now is to start putting everything back together. So let's get it done. All right, what we're gonna do is start from the right hand side here and make our way all the way to the left, where our up pipe is going to go. As you can see, I put the center pipe, which connects the exhaust manifold on the near side with the one on the off side. Before you put your heat shield, remember to torque them to 35 Newton meters. And now we get to a stage where we're going to fit our up pipe. Now, I know you might be wondering if I actually tightened the engine mounts yet, and I haven't, because I want to know if we can actually fit our new up pipe through that hole, or we're gonna have to jack up the engine once more. But before we fit our new up pipe, remember we need to put our gasket in place. So this gasket is going to go just like this, and now we're ready to fit a new up pipe. This could be a bit hard to do with one hand, but I just want to show you or find out with you if we can actually fit it without having to lift the engine. And yes, we can. Oh, that's brilliant. Alright, so I'm just gonna leave it there, and now we're gonna go up above and we're gonna attach it to our turbo. And yes, I'm gonna clean all of that before I put the manifold back on. And just in case you're wondering, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, on our next video we're gonna replace the 4 oil seals for our oil cooler. I don't know if you can see it, but right there is our up pipe. And now we're gonna try to connect it with our turbo right here. I don't know how I'm gonna record this, but let's give it a go so you can see what I'm doing as well. Alright, and just like that, we got the new up pipe. Don't torque your up pipe to the turbo until you put your exhaust manifold, and you connect the exhaust manifold with the up pipe and connect the exhaust manifold with the mid pipe and torque it as well against the engine, against the block. Otherwise you're going to be struggling. And I found that out the hard way. So yeah, bear that in mind. Once everything underneath is nice and torqued and connected, then we can come up here and torque our studs against the turbo. And after that, which is the point that we are right now, one thing you need to remember as well is to root back your O2 sensor. And I know we got another sensor, the EGT. I haven't forgotten, but I'll tell you what we do with that sensor once we get the downpipe and the intercooler in. Once we connect our downpipe to the rest of the exhaust and to the turbo, we're going to torque them to 35 Newton meters. Once we've got everything torqued up, we're going to put the turbo, exhaust shield, and we're going to put the intercooler, and that is almost everything we need to do for this job. And then we can install a resistor on a sensor. Now we are at the point where we're going to put our resistor, as you can see there, in place, so we can bypass the EGT. Now, a lot of people, what they do is basically on the plug itself, the one that's in the car that goes to the ECU, they just put this like that into the plug and then just leave it like that. What I'm going to do is, as you can see here, I cut the other side of the plug, the one that goes actually on the up pipe, and what we're going to do is just solve this like so, like that, and we're going to put a bit of a heat shrink on top of it. The reason why I'm doing it like this is because I feel like this is going to be more waterproof than if I actually just go to the vehicle and get my resistor and put it in place where the plug goes. I mean, this is not permanent. You can go and get a retune and then you can delete the EGT and then you don't need this. But this way, we'll make sure the connections are good and we make sure that there's no water getting in between the resistor and the actual plug in the vehicle. And just like that, we go EGT bypass. If you're going to put a resistor on the EGT connector, is that one right there. If you're going to do like me, after you're happy with your connections and your heat shrink, what we're going to do is just put it back where it goes. My one just run down here, so what I'm going to do is put some tape around it, and that's about it. Now that we go EGT bypass, what we're going to do is to start it up and see what happens. Fingers crossed there's no leaks, and I've got the extinguisher right there just in case, you never know. So let's see. As you can see, there's a bit of smoke coming from there. There's nothing to worry about. What it is the fabric tape that we put on the downpipe. That has to be wet when you fit it, so basically now it's drying out, and that's all you can see. At the minute it doesn't seem like we got any leaks, and if we come around, since we put a resistor on, we got no engine management light on. I did let it run for a while, so you go up to temperature, and as well that way we can evaporate all the water that is accumulated on that fabric tape that we put around the up pipe, so now it's not smoking anymore. In theory, when we replace our up pipe with something like Green Speed or Fuji Racing like I just done, it will help our turbos pull faster and it will create low down torque. So that's something I'm really looking forward to see how much the difference, and if I can actually tell. I would really like to take it for a road test, but I really want to get on with the oil cooler seals, so that's going to be the next thing that we're going to be doing in this car. And once that's done, we're going to take it for a road test and we're going to test that new up pipe. But until then, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing if you do, and I shall see you very shortly.